Once upon a time, on May 6, 1856, in the small town of Freiberg in Moravia, now the Czech Republic, a boy named Sigmund Freud was born. His name was given him by his mother, who was raised in a modest Jewish family. Freud showed exceptional intelligence from an early age and an insatiable curiosity about the world around him. His parents, Jacob Freud and Amelia Freud, chose his name with Shlomo being a traditional Jewish name, honoring his grandfather. The surname Freud was also inherited from Freud's father, whose name likely derives from the German word Freud, meaning joy or pleasure, just like Friedrich Nietzsche, that actually means Frederick Nikolai, just like the Santa. His mother was deeply devoted to him and families referred him as her golden Sigi. According to biographical accounts, shortly after Freud's birth, Amelia reportedly consulted a fortune teller or received a prophetic remark that her son would achieve great fame and bring honor to the family. How assertive was that? This propelled her to give him his first name of Sigmund, which in German can be related to Sieg or victory in English. She believed that her son was destined for greatness, which may have fueled a strong encouragement for his academic and intellectual pursuits. Having a part of this told in his famous book on the interpretation of dreams, whether or not the prophecy was real, it became part of the lore surrounding Freud's journey to becoming one of the most influential thinkers in modern psychology, but also in academics in general. This sense of destiny and his mother's high expectation likely influenced Freud's ambition and confidence throughout his life, maybe making Freud's story something like a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is a prediction that comes to fruition at least in part as a result of a person's belief or expectation that this prediction will become true in the future. In short, it will be something like, if you believe in it, you'll achieve it. Who knows? Later in his life, Freud himself recognized his writing that if a man has been his mother's undisputed darling, he retains throughout life the triumphant feeling, the confidence in success, which not seldom brings actual success along with it. Around the age of 22, he moved to Vienna to study medicine at the University of Vienna in Austria. Initially interested in biological research, particularly in the study of the nerve cells and apparently cocaine, his curiosity soon turned to a greater mystery, the human mind. Freud wanted to understand what drives our actions, our feelings, and our thoughts. It was in his medical practice, working with patients who display inexplicable symptoms like hysteria, that Freud began to develop his theories. He noticed that some pains and paralysis had no clear physical cause, but seemed connected to traumatic experience or repressed emotions nevertheless. This observation led him to create the method of treatment, or at least to analyze these psychopathologies, called the psychoanalysis. Freud revolutionized the world's understanding of the mind and proposing that the unconscious, a hidden part of our psyche, govern much of our thoughts and actions, differently from what Wilhelm Wundt was proposing in Germany, which was to understand the same mind only by physical aspects of reality. Even though his ideas sounded groundbreaking at the time, they were also highly controversial and remain that until, well, this day, with many universities of psychology refusing to teach Freud as a part of this field and associating him and his theories with something more like philosophy rather than psychology. So while analyzing dreams, a common thing at the time, Sigmund realized that they were actually a royal road to the unconscious, and introduced concepts like the Oedipus complex, transference, and defense mechanisms, ideas that were seen as groundbreaking at the time, but also highly controversial, and remain that until, well, this day. with many universities of psychology refusing to teach Freud as part of this field and associating him and his theories with something more like philosophy rather than psychology. Despite facing significant criticism, Freud continued to expand his theories. He wrote landmark works such as The Interpretation of Dreams, Dota and Taboo, 3 essays on the theory of sexuality, The Dora Case, and on narcissism, which solidified his influence as well as my appreciation for his work. These 5 texts or books and articles are also my favorites, which I believe explain the best groundings of psychoanalysis, and I recommend it for everyone. Throughout his life, he battled academic opposition, personal struggles, and declining health, probably regretting smoking too much. Forced into exile by the rise of Nazism in Germany and Europe, Freud died on September 23, 1939 in London, leaving a legacy that forever changed psychology and the human sciences. Some key terms and contributions of his were, for example, the foundation for what much of modern psychology and modern psychotherapy are. Because before Freud, mental health didn't actually exist, or you were just a schizophrenic or just a regular, so to speak, person. No one seemed to have this tendency to just sit down, to shut up and listen to what the other person had, and primarily to see that many of the problems that people have are actually problems that come from their own heads, their own minds. The way we think, the way we feel, the way we respond emotionally or behaviorally to these thoughts or the feelings and situations that surrounds us. As well as the concept of the unconscious, that for many of these problems. Freud argued that much of our mental life occurs outside of conscious awareness. The unconscious mind contains thoughts, memories, desires, and experiences that we are not directly aware of. Yet the unconscious elements heavily influence our behaviors and emotions. Freud believed that by exploring the unconscious through techniques like the dream analysis and free associations of a person just speaking about it, hidden conflicts and unresolved issues could be uncovered. In contrast, the conscious mind is part of the psyche that is aware of the current thoughts and perceptions. It represents the mental states that we are actively aware of, the thoughts that we can verbalize and control, and Freud proposed that the conscious mind is just the tip of the iceberg, with most of our mental processes occurring beneath the surface in the unconscious. So Freud also developed his structural model of the psyche, which includes the id, the ego, and the superego. The id representing our basic instinctual drives operating with the pleasure principle, seeking immediate gratification of desires without regard to social rules or consequences. It's like our devil part on your left shoulder. The superego, on the other hand, represents our internalized moral standards, the voices of societal rules and parental influences. It operates on the morality principle, guiding us to behave in ways that conform to our learned sense of right and wrong, like the angel part in your right shoulder. And then we have the ego, the rational part of the mind, that deals with reality. It tries to make a conciliation between the impulses of the id and the inhibitions of the superego. Therefore, when your id, which actually just means it or the thing, wants to take off your clothes, the superego will say, well, no way, we can never do such a thing. The ego in the middle will say, well, maybe we can take our clothes off, but not here in this moment. What about in our own home? So it functions according to this reality principle, finding ways to satisfy the desires of the id and the socially acceptable manners according to the superego. These differentiations between the 3 parts of our minds were developed around our infancy with the perceptions of our own sexes, our own genders, through the castration anxiety or penis envy. And yes, these are real terms, which we will talk about on another video. For now, just to summarize, Freud was a captivating and multifaceted individual. He combined both the scientific curiosity with some artistic appreciation and, well, intuition, but also being very methodical and disciplined. He spent countless hours analyzing patients and writing about them. Yet he was also a reserved man with a touch of great intellectual arrogance. He had a dry sense of humor, loved smoking cigars, and was fiercely loyal to his friends and ideas, so much so that his stubbornness and reluctance to revise his theories made him an easy target for criticism, leading him to distance himself from others like Carl Jung, who was once the heir son of psychoanalysis, as well as other people distancing themselves from him, like Eugene Blair, who was in a sense the founding father of psychoanalysis, as well as with Freud, with a book called Studies on Hysteria in 1895.